began to supervise him, and he reported, and he was explained all of the conditions of parole and the conditions of his sex offender contract. He had reported to my office 8 days after being released, which would have been October 18th, at which time I did discover he had active social media account and was in contact with the public through that social media. And due to that being a violation of his parole, I executed the arrest. And then here we are today.
8 days after getting released, he violates his parole, this S offender, and it's because he made a fake social media account. But it's not the first time that we've seen this. Here, let me play a clip for you for the last time.
A Facebook account belonging to you was found under the name of Pinky McBliss. How do you plead?
Guilty with the statement.
I can't with that one. But anyways, an astute probation officer got him locked back up, and I'll go over all the facts of the crime, what his S offense was, and why it's so important for him not to have social media account. Now with that, let's jump in.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were accused of violating condition number 13, which is a special condition for sex offenders, which specifically section 4, part 1 of the sex offender contract states you're not allowed to use or access any social networking website. You failed to refrain from using social media as evidenced by your active Facebook account, which has new activity and evidence of social interaction with the public. How do you plead to violating condition number 13?
I plead guilty, ma'am.
Okay, well, tell us about it. What happened? We did get your letter. We saw your letter that you sent.
Yes, ma'am. It's really no excuse. You know, I got out and I'm away from family and friends because I didn't go home to the same environment. So all I was doing was trying to reach my stepmom and all them to let them know I was out, which I realized was the wrong way of going about it. And it wound up making me backtrack and have to come back incarceration for something so simple. You know, I should have thought twice about how to reach out to my family instead of media.
Why didn't you use telephone?
I don't know their number. That's the thing. I don't have no phone numbers. I've been indigent most of my incarceration after I wound up catching these charges and getting locked up. So upon release, I used media to try to get Messenger to get in touch with my stepmom and all. And I created a Facebook. And it's wrong. I had no excuse what I did, and I'm truly sorry for that, and I'm paying for it now.
All right, and so, but you're familiar with the terms of your sex offender contract, right?
Yes, ma'am.
No, that's not your instant offense was simple burglary. It's a prior sex offense. All right, let's hear from Carly Landry, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us about this situation?
So Tony was actually just released on good time parole on October 10th. I had began to supervise him, and he reported, and he was explained all of the conditions of parole and the conditions of his sex offender contract. He had reported to my office 8 days after being released, which would have been October 18th, at which time I did discover he had active social media account and was in contact with the public through that social media. And due to that being a violation of his parole, I executed the arrest. And then here we are today. I haven't had much time to get to know Mr. LaBeouf, as he was only out for 8 days. But that was his only violation that I had come to learn of.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your good work. Mr. LaBeouf, prior to your incarceration, I do see where you were, as she said, released October 10th. Before you went to jail on that occasion, did you have a Facebook account?
Talking about before I got arrested for my sex offense charges.
Before you got arrested and jailed for simple burglary of inhabited dwelling?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your handle then? What was your name of that account?
My name, my account was Tony.
And what was the name of the account we're talking about today?
Motive.
Why did you change? Why is it that? Is that a name for you?
before I caught the simple burglaries, I was told, but when I got out from the simple burglaries before I caught the sex offender charge, and I was Modi Odimon, which is my Modi is my nickname. Odimon is my mama's maiden name. So I just changed my name because I was trying to leave my old lifestyle away. So when I got out this time, I wasn't trying to hide it. I just used my old nickname and my real last name instead of Tony LaBeouf.
Mhm. And you said you went to a different area when you released,
Yes, ma'am, Alexandra.
and where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Terrebonne Parish.
Homa, in the Homa
Yes,
area?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am, home.
Right. And I do see, you have any relatives in Alexandria?
No, I got stepsisters that live in Alexandria. My dad and all them, they from towards Marksville way.
But you posted a picture, didn't you? Posted a picture on your new active Facebook account. You were watching football with a cousin or something?
Yes, ma'am.
Where was that?
That's my cousin Marlon. He's at a sober living house. And we was coming back from church that night, and we just stopped and watched the game because the game was on. Got some chicken
All right.
at Wild Wings.
All right. I will defer to my colleagues. Any other? Mr. Byron?
Yeah. So basically, you're telling us you knew what you were doing was wrong and you chose to do it anyway, and you made a bad decision. That's basically what you're saying, and you're guilty.
Yes, sir. I'm not gonna try to sugarcoat and lie to y'all. I should have never activated Facebook regardless of what I was trying to do.
How can we be assured that if we give you another chance, you're not going to go back to the same thing? You know, do you have your people's phone numbers and everything in place now?
Yes, sir, I do.
Back to the same situation.
Yes, sir, I do. And if I don't, I know now that I could probably get with Miss Carly and she would probably go out her way to help me find what I need to find so I don't do this again.
Do you still have a job if you release?
Well, I'm not sure. I haven't been able to reach to nobody, but I do have my credentials, which I will go to Job Corps and do what I need to do to try to get a job. Like I was doing when I was out last time. I was looking for a job and I found a construction job, but I didn't have a chance to start because the day that I went get my clothes and my tools and all, I wound up getting reincarcerated for this incident. But I do work, and then I will find a job immediately. Besides registering, the job is a second priority.
Where are you planning on living if we would let you out again?
The same residence in Alexandria. I talked to the landlord, and I do have the money for the rent, and everything's established if I do make parole again, and I just try again. I'll just stay away from medium.
And you do realize, being a prior sex offender case, some of these conditions roll over to you even on this burglary case, and they all considered important. Maybe you don't think they are, but probation and parole thinks they're very important, and so does the law.
Yes, sir.
You understand that, you know, you're not free of all the sex offender conditions yet.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know, I'm not sure if there's anything regarding registration or notification in this, but whatever there is that the probation officer tells you to do, it needs to be done. And without hesitation. You agree to do all of that?
Yes, sir, I really do.
All right, that's the only questions I have.
Questions, Ms. Ledoux?
Yeah, I'd like to ask about your previous supervision periods. How many times have you been on supervision for after being released?
Oh, you're talking about parole, ma'am?
Yes.
I was on parole. The last time I got out, I stayed out a year and a half. I was in full compliance. Whenever I got moved from Alexandria to Terrebonne, I got proper transfer from probation and parole until I caught my my sex offense charge right after my wife passed, and when I got arrested, I was in full compliance all the way through. This time I went register. I tried to be in full compliance. I just made a mistake and try to activate Facebook for wrong reasons. I could have thought a little bit more better and more professionally dealing with my freedom. And that's pretty much it, ma'am.
You have a clear understanding, at least, of the system. I mean, you're a third-class offender, so
Yes, ma'am.
first time. So what kind of tools are you going to use to comply this time? What kind of support system do you have?
Well, I have my stepmom and father, which is a support system for us mentally, not financially. I've been in a convoy wreck upon my incarceration dealing with my sex offender charges, and I settled out on a lawsuit. So I do have money to get a vehicle and, continue, make sure I have a place and paid for to where I'm not running the streets and not registering properly under what residence I'm staying on. So I do have that on my side as benefit. I can't say I'm gonna do it or not do it because everybody says that. I had no intentions on coming back, and if I do get out, I'm definitely not gonna try to do anything to jeopardize it again, especially not media. I got out. I know I was only out 8 days, but I had no intentions. I didn't do no drugs. I didn't run the streets. I was in full compliance. I went register. I tried to do everything properly. But this is my first time dealing with a sex offense being free, and I wasn't real understanding of how serious it was with dealing with this media, because it's my first time dealing with this media, and I realize it's very serious dealing with my freedom, dealing with this type of charge.
Right. I think, is anything else you'd like to say to us before we vote?
No, ma'am. It's in y'all hands, and I pray that I don't get violated today, and I'm able to go home and try this one more time and have my freedom.
Yeah. Tell me again, I missed it. What type of work do you say you work? What type of work? What's your job skills?
I've been doing construction my whole life. I worked offshore on tugboats, but I recently just received 2 certifications in fiber optic technician, and also I completed a welding program, which I was looking in the avenue of going and weld.
Okay. All right. I'm prepared to vote, Mr. LaBeouf. I'm concerned. I know that the terms of the sex offender contract were explained to you. As Mr. Byra said, you did it. You did the social media. You knew you weren't supposed to, but you did it anyway. Although that's your only violation, you weren't out very long. Ms. Landry seems willing to help you do what you got to do. My vote today is going to be do not revoke. I'm going to add some special conditions, even though it's already in place. I'm going to state it on your certificate that you must follow the sex offender contract. I would like to see you go ahead and get a mental health evaluation. And should they determine any treatment is necessary, you're to comply with any treatment plan, and that could include medication, perhaps. And then once you obtain employment or to maintain full-time employment.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my vote. Mrs. Ledoux.
Mr. LaBeouf, I think that the transition period from incarceration to the streets is a very difficult one, and I'm very pleased we have people like Ms. Landry and our probation and parole officers who seek to help you with that. You have to understand they're not your adversary. They're to be there for a mentor, if you will. So my vote is also going to be to not revoke, but I want to make note that you need to submit to review of social media on your phone and stuff to your parole officer. I think that you need to be cognizant that you have to show them your phone upon every time that they interact with you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to vote the same with my colleagues for the same reasons. And I just want to thank Ms. Landry for coming and help us make our decision. Thank you very much. It's always nice when we have a probation officer here.
All right, Mr. LeBeau, you get another shot at it. Good luck to you, sir. Thank you, Ms.
Yes, ma'am.
Lane.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
That concludes our business in Rapid, Sergeant Morris. So we're going to close out. It is 9:42.
Thank you, ma'am.
I gotta tell you, I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't revoke. Maybe they felt kind of bad for him, but let me tell you, let me unpack the at least where he initially picked up his sex crime and why I'm so happy that this parole officer, some of you might say, oh man, she was really getting on him. It's the first time they met. It's 8 days later and she arrests him on the spot. But you know that he picked up his sex offense because they found a runaway 16-year-old girl inside of his home. And I can only guess that probably how convicts like him find runaway 16-year-old girls is using social media. I'll give you more background on that case, but I just want to get some stuff off my chest. I don't buy any of it for 1 second. I don't. And any of you who have done time, I haven't. I don't know anyone's phone number. I don't know my wife's phone number by heart. And that's because my brain is warped and melted from having a cell phone. But if you're in prison and you're making phone calls, you would have that number memorized, wouldn't you? Am I wrong? Am I missing something? If there's any reason to know a phone number by heart, it's when you're in prison. So one, I don't believe him that he didn't know her number. I don't believe him that he made up a Facebook account just because this and that name with that name. No, he did it because he wanted to be sneaky and he got busted because this parole officer is doing her homework. Good for you. If you are watching this, we want to see you more often. We want to see everyone, these probation officers more often. They really, it's, I don't know what, I know you guys have a hard job, but it'd be good to see you show up and provide that context. So it's, there's another thing too, is that on sex offender registries, it lists aliases of someone. If they have a street alias, if they have a whatever it is, nicknames, they list them. He doesn't have anything listed. He does not have a single alias. So again, another strike against that story being the truth. It's BS. I don't buy it for a second, but they, I guess they just didn't want to lock him up again. They want to say, he's only out for 8 days. Let's see, he has to work. It's a condition and he has to, whatever, but, keep in mind. So let me just, the reason I can't screen share this for you is because it lists addresses and I'm not, that's just too risky. But in 2019, a missing juvenile, so this was September 27, 2019, a missing juvenile investigation led to the arrest of a 31-year-old man on child sex charges. Tony from blah, 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 was charged with carnal knowledge of a juvenile and crime against nature and a parole violation because, mind you, he was on parole. So while they were searching for a runaway 16-year-old girl, the detectives responded to a home, and that was his home. And then the investigators received information that the missing juvenile was at the home on the previous night. So they went to the home looking for the girl. They heard that she was there on the previous night. Detectives learned during the investigation that there was a different 16-year-old girl. Now I can actually screen share it because the address is gone. So let me screen share this. Detectives learned during the investigation that there was a different 16-year-old girl at the residence who was having sexual relationship with him. The teen was transported to the sheriff's office where the investigation continued. He was arrested and transported to Terrebonne Parish Jail where he remains without bond. So this is that charge, the sex offense charge that he's locked up for. So apparently they're looking for one 16-year-old and then I guess they found another 16-year-old. Yeah, a fully grown man. Taking advantage, as the 16-year-old girls, when they run away, every father's mother's worst nightmare is that they will end up with someone like that. And the social media account, he can't have it. It's messed up. And this guy's got to grow up. You hear that he has a lawsuit with the automobile, so he has money coming. Sir Richard found a bunch of lawsuits where he was like, while he was locked up in 2019, he sued like the jail. I'm paraphrasing here, but it seems he sued them. My understanding is because they didn't provide hand sanitizer and they didn't clean properly. And I don't know, it sounds like train wreck chasing to me, just like a waste of, it's just a drain on society. And you know, he'd gotten out on good time for this, locked up while he was out on these charges. And I think he did the theft. Then he gets out on the theft in good time, and then he gets locked up again. So I have a feeling we're going to see him again. I don't know. And for those of you who are wondering about his neck tattoo, I asked Jesse, who's one of the few mods that we have on this channel, who's one of the earliest subscribers to the channel, and he has done hard time himself. I think something like 8 years. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, in the comments section. And I said, what does that tattoo mean? Because I was curious. And he said, you know, it's quite interesting. So 5150, it actually goes back to a code section from California, like involuntary psychiatric hold. It was like a code that they made, but now people widely use it in prison to tell other inmates that they're crazy. So that's like the signify. That's what you put on your neck to say, don't mess with me. I'm nuts. And yeah, for those of you who are shocked that one of our few mods that we have has done hard time, that's because we don't hate on inmates here. I know some of you come give that impression. You write in the comment section, Mandy, you don't understand. There's no hate for doing time. You know, you do a crime, you serve the time, you rehabilitate, you change. That's a beautiful thing. That's a great thing, part of the system. What we hate on are those that try to harm children, those that try to harm others, those that don't want to do better, those that are a menace to society. That's the focus. Last time we had an offender show up and use an alias for Facebook. It was not as it was more creative, but not that great. Here, I'll play the clip for you first.
I just have to ask, you look like you've been in an altercation.
Yes, ma'am. I got jumped Sunday, jumped by three of them, three other inmates Sunday. They had went to my paperwork and found out that I was a sex offender.
A Facebook account belonging to you was found under the name of Pinky McBliss. How do you plead?
Guilty with the statement.
Pinky something or other. Can you even imagine? That was the last sex offender. Man, if you haven't seen that parole hearing, you should check it out in the, I don't know, I'll have it pop up here somewhere. But with that, I'll let you go.
A Facebook account belonging to you was found under the name of Pinky McBliss. How do you plead?
Guilty with the statement.